Good afternoon. Today is the 25th of July, about 2:07 p.m. here in New York, and we will start our Ruby Cucumber course. This is the August batch that we are going to be starting, and today is the day one. I want to welcome you folks to this session. We have been providing this training for quite some time now, and Ruby Cucumber is one of the high-end skill set that is very high in demand, and we noticed that geographically in Ohio there is a huge demand for this kind of skills, and also in state of Georgia, in Atlanta, there are some requirements for Ruby Cucumber. It's again good skill to have, and it is one of the expensive course that we provide training on, because there is a lot to be learned in this course. So where shall we begin? I'm gonna start by introducing TrainingRite to you. We have been providing online trainings for a little over 6 years now, and as you can see from our website, we have a variety of courses that we offer online trainings on. And just today we started another course in the morning, which is Selenium with Java. Now, we provide these trainings in the evenings on the weekdays, starting from 8:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we also do it on the weekends because all the faculty is working during daytime. So we have about 5 trainers. Everyone has got a little over 12 years of experience. I have been doing this for about 21 years now, and I have been teaching most of the automation testing courses. So Ruby Cucumber is actually being taught by 2 trainers, me and another guy. So if you are registered with us, you will be getting the videos from both the trainers, so that way you could see the perspective from 2 different guys and see how it needs to be done. Well, Ruby is the programming language that we will be using to do automated testing of web applications. So the agenda is we will be covering Ruby and automation testing for the first half of the course. And then after that, we will be getting into BDD style of testing with Cucumber. So I'll be introducing you to Cucumber somewhere around day 5. And so for the first 4 days, we will be using Ruby and Watir. Watir is spelled as W-A-T-I-R. That's a sort of like a wrapper around Selenium. So under the hood, it's basically Selenium, but we put a wrapper around it in the form of Watir, and Watir would expose a bunch of classes that we will be using to basically send the instructions to the browser to do some automation. So the browsers that we will be testing will be a combination of Firefox and Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, and Apple Safari, and the Opera. But the focus is primarily going to be on the popular browsers, so that's going to be Chrome and IE and Firefox. Now, as far as the content of the course is concerned, I would invite you to go to TrainingRite.com, go to this page, and just take a look at what we'll be doing. I will not be reading these bullet items, but I invite you to just go over and look into what we're going to be covering as a part of this course. The course is going to be pretty intense, so we're going to be get started immediately, right away, right from today's class. First of all, I'm going to be talking about setting up the environment so that we prepare our machines to do Ruby. So that would involve everything as a way to get Ruby, from how to download it and install it on your machine, and make sure that we are able to do the automation. Now, as far as the students, I you can interact with me in a couple of ways. If you have any questions during these sessions, you can type your questions in the chat, or you can raise your hand and talk to me, and I will make sure that I answer your questions. At the tail end of the session, I will have a sort of like a Q&A session, and I will talk to you about, I'll answer any questions that you may have. Also, there are going to be 8 assignments as a part of this course, 8 sessions altogether and 8 assignments. These assignments definitely will help you if you are in the process of getting a job. So if you're taking interviews, the uh, the assignments or the homework that you would be doing would help you answer majority of the interview questions. If you are already working in building a framework, the code that you are going to create as a part of this course would definitely help you on your projects, because we will be creating pretty reusable code that you can use in your project. So you should be able to scale it. So we'll be designing it completely using object-oriented programming. So now that brings us to an interesting question, and that is, what if you don't have the background of object-oriented programming? How can we learn it? Now, there are different programming languages out there that you can basically use to learn the foundations of object-oriented programming. C#.NET from Microsoft is also a purely object-oriented programming. Java is another one, and of course, Ruby is going to be what we'll be learning as a part of this course. Now, I will not make these sessions dry by teaching you only object-oriented programming all the time. So we will be learning it in such a way that we can apply it to our primary goal, and that is to test the web applications. So in order to test these web applications, you have to build scripts, and the scripts will be built using Ruby as the programming language. And now we need some sort of a framework that we could be using. So in the beginning, I'm going to be working with Watir, and then later on we'll be using Capybara. Now for doing some assertions for checking whether certain condition, whether certain test case passes or not. So we can be using RSpec framework for assertions. So I'll be showing you how RSpec works. And later on, we're going to be getting into Cucumber, which is a completely, different way of testing, unlike we have been doing with using QTP and your Selenium. Cucumber is totally different. So we will be writing our test cases based on the behavior-driven development. So our test cases will be written, and the software basically follows, looking at how our test cases are going to be written. And so the Cucumber that you would be learning will be utilized by your developers as well. So we're gonna walk a fine line, meaning that we're not gonna be making it sort of like a developer course. So it has to balance. So we are leaning towards creating an automation framework for testing purpose, but we will be flirting with the development as well, because I have to show you a little bit about Rails as a because majority of the times Ruby is used to test a Rails application. So you have to have some idea about how Rails applications they work. What is MVC paradigm? Basically, you have to have an idea of the architecture that is being used today in the Ruby on Rails side, which is your model views and controllers. So we will be spending some time, even though that is not necessarily the focus of our course, but in order for you to have a good idea of how you could be testing the Rails applications, you have to have an understanding of the architecture of Rails, and that's what we will be covering as a later part of this course. Okay, now that you have some idea of how these things are going to be done, we'll get started and then we will do this. Now, I have to talk to you folks about the timings of this course because we are running a course before this. We are running a class before this Ruby class, and so that starts kind of like 10 o'clock in the morning, and that's too early for some of the folks in California. So we are trying to move it to 11, and if it moves to 11, then that's going to end at 1 o'clock, and I need at least like 2 hours to catch my breath to do another 2-hour course. So in that case, if I move the Selenium to 11 o'clock, then we will be moving your class to start from 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We were seriously debating whether to start this course this weekend. So I will do a session today, but tomorrow's session is going to be a little bit iffy. I am not confirming whether we do it or not do it. You know, chances are we will do it rather than not doing it, but if we don't do it tomorrow, I'll keep you posted, and we will start the second session the following Saturday, and then it's not going to be looking back. And I understand some of the concerns people have that it might go into Labor Day, so we will try to make sure that we don't run into that situation. All right. Okay. With that taken care of, let's get started. Now, for those of you folks who have already paid, we have shared with you some documentation. So I'm going to start you there because I want you to make sure that you have the environment prepared. So in order to prepare the environment, even though I'm going to show you how, but it's better if you read the documentation as well. So let me take you there. So we have, if you go into Google Drive, under Ruby Cucumber. So these are basically the documents that you should have access to. And it tells you a little bit about how TDD, which is the test-driven development, is done. So even though I will be going over all of these things in the later part of the course, but at your leisure, I strongly suggest that you should read these documentations. So today we're going to be starting off with the introduction to Ruby. So for that, we have to go and prepare the environment. So in order to prepare the environment, we have to download Ruby. So you could either follow this document, right, and do things accordingly, or I'm just going to show it to you how to do things. And you could also go through the document again in your leisure time. You could go through the document, but let me just do it here. So if you go to Google, first things first, you got to make sure that you have Ruby installed on your machine. So in order to make sure that your Ruby installed on your machine, what you can do is you can go to start and type cmd. And when the command prompt pops up, you will type Ruby hyphen version, right? And hit enter. That should give you the version of Ruby right now. So on my machine, I have Ruby. I have Ruby basically 1.9.3. This is not necessarily the most recent one. but it's pretty stable. So that's what I've been using. But you can download the most recent one, which happens to be 2.0. All right. So let's Google it and see where we could download it from. So if you say download Ruby, um, it brings you to this site, download Ruby, right? Okay, now as they are saying, the current stable version is 2.2.2. You could pretty much go and then download that. Now, in order to download, right, Ruby 2.2.2, there are a couple of things that you could be doing. You could download and you could install from here, and then you got to be doing few things to make it work, or you could go directly, depending on your operating system, you could go and use the utility that they have provided to you to install Ruby. And that is basically nothing but your Ruby installer. So I could literally go to rubyinstaller.org. It's an ORG. When you do a COM, and if you have any add-ons enable on your browser, it might tell you that it's not a good site or what. So basically, it's the org site that you are going to, right? Rubyinstaller.org. So what you have here is it's basically an installer, a Windows-based installer that helps you to install the Ruby language on your machine, right? So you could just go ahead and then download it, right? Here are the different versions. Again, depending on what version of the operating system you have, whether you have a 32-bit or a 64-bit, you could go and then you could install that. Now, for the older versions, as you can see, this is 1.9.3, and that's what I have on my machine. But if you see here, if you don't know what version to install, you're getting started with Ruby, we recommend that you do any two versions, right? 2.1. So 2.1.x, so 2.1.6 is fine. So these are the much more stable one. And then this is the most recent one. So it's totally up to you which one you're going to be downloading and installing it. So once you download and install it, it's just a matter of clicking, and you keep clicking, and then it's going to go, and then you can install it. Now, what I'm going to do is I will I will show you both the versions, meaning that I have here on my machine something called a VMware. VMware is basically I used because if I'm not so sure about the stability of these softwares, then rather than installing it on my host system and causing a problem to my host system, I use my VMware. That way, if something goes wrong, I could literally throw away that and then get another copy of it, get a clone copy of it, and then start fresh. We unfortunately cannot do that with the host system. So that's the reason with the host system, I kind of like play safe and use that. So I have, in other words, a system inside a system. For those of you folks who don't know what VMware is, it's a system inside a system. So this way, I can show you a slightly older version, which is this one I am using, and I can show you the newer version as well, right? Which I'm going to be installing it here. All right. So if I go in here without knowing if my system has Ruby or not, my VMware, I'm going to bring up and type Ruby version, and over here I have 2.0. Right over here, as you can see, I have 2.0. So here, because this again is a VMware, I can play with it and I can break something. It doesn't matter. So I'm gonna be doing everything in here, right? And if we run into any issues, I could go back to my host system where it is much more stable and I could run things there. Okay, so let's do the Ruby installer.org, right? And I'm here and I will download, since they say that 2.1.1 installers are good, so I could take this one, right? Now, again, here we have an issue whether to go with the 32-bit or a 64-bit. Again, unless and until you have a particular need, both the versions will work fine. Even though you have 64-bit, but 32 will also work fine, and 64, of course, depending on your operating system. So to check it out, you can go from start to control panel and go to system, and that way you could find out like what is the operating system that you have, whether you have a 64 or a 32-bit. And as you can take a look, I have 64-bit. Now, really doesn't matter whether you have Windows XP or Windows 7, Windows 8. So here I have Windows 7 Professional, and I have a 64-bit. So that's fine. And I'm going to go and then download. So I'm going to download, let's say, 2.2.2. All right. So as you can see, it is about 16 megs. So it should typically download immediately. So now you would say that how come you are, and here it is. So I'm just gonna run it right now. Before I run, take a look. Here I have, this is a slightly older version, 2.0.0, right? That's the older version that was released in the May of 2014. That's the older version. Now I'm trying to install this new version. So when I say new, it's gonna come back, what language are we using? English. You have to accept the licensing, and then here it will create a folder. The folder it is going to create is Ruby 22, 2.2.2, so Ruby 22. Now, if I go into my file system, I'm going into my file system here, and if I go into my C drive, notice that there is Ruby. There's a Ruby here. There's a Ruby 200, right? Because it's a Ruby version 2, as we can see, Ruby version 2.0.0. And now it is going to install Ruby version 2.2, right? Okay, so it will create a folder Ruby here. It will create a folder Ruby 200, Ruby 22. So there are some options that I have here that I can check or leave them as they are. Let's take a look into what the options we have here. Don't worry about the first option. Let's take a look into the second option and the third option. The second option is add Ruby executables to your path, right? Okay, what does that mean? What basically happens is if I have to execute any Ruby files right now, which one is it going to use? It is going to use the one which it is pointing here, Ruby 2.0.0. But if I want to use the newer version, which is Ruby 2.2.2, then I have to write about this new software. I have to disclose to my computer. I have to let my computer know that we have this software as well on my machine. And the way we can know about that is by writing that information into your environment variables. So behind the scenes, what happens is it is going to go from start to control panel to system. And if you see in the advanced system settings, right, if you will notice that we have something called here, environment variables. When I click on that, of course, there are two parts to it, the top part and the bottom part. In the bottom part, we will be looking at something called path. So here is my path. Right, here is my path. So let's see what is there inside the path. So if I edit it and just this copy, Control C, and come and then open Notepad and put that in Notepad. So what it is telling me is, my computer knows that I have something called Python on my machine. There are two versions of Python, Python 2.7, Python 3.4. And then it also says that it knows about Ruby, and which Ruby it knows that I have on my machine, Ruby version 2.0.0, right? And likewise, it knows about so many other things, like it knows about UFT, which is a, QTP or HP tool for testing of the web applications and client server applications. So it's a QTP tool. And it also knows about SQL Server as the database and blah, 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 so many things. What we are interested in is it knows right now only about Ruby, Ruby version 2.0.0, and it is pointing that anytime anybody is going to run Ruby files, it is going to run using this Ruby 2.0.0. All right. Okay. So what happens here is if I cancel out from here, if I cancel out from all that, so what happens is this setting will add it to that path. So if it adds it to that path, now I will have Ruby 2.2. So Ruby 22, it'll add it to that. So sometimes you don't want to do that automatically because you still want to use the older version. So if you know what you're doing, then you should come here and then check it. So this way, this will get added. And now what's going to happen to the older version? We will see that in a minute. So we can basically come and delete the older version. That way we have only the new version, and that's what it is going to be using. Okay, another thing that we'll be using is all Ruby files have an extension of RB, right? RB and RBW for the Windows files. So it is saying that associate Ruby and RB files with this Ruby installation, meaning that if there is any file, earlier file with an extension of RB, we are saying that open it with this Ruby version, right? So that's what we are trying to do, which is fine, and we will just go ahead and then install it. As you can see, it takes less than a couple of seconds, and then you will see that it is going to be installed. And as you see, it was successfully installed, Ruby 2.2.2. Okay, here is a deal. This window, if I go and if I give the same command here, right, it will still point me to the old one. It will still point me to the old one. What you got to do is you got to close this and reopen the window, and after you reopen the window, you give the command Ruby -- version, right? And as you can see, we have the newer version now. So we have the newer version 2.2.2, and that's the newer version. So this tells us that the new version of Ruby has been installed on my machine, right? Okay, excellent. So preparing of the environment requires me to install Ruby, and Ruby has been installed. Okay, now our objective, our goal as a part of this course is to do what? Hang on for a second. Hang on. Yeah, our objective, our goal as a part of this course is to do the following, right? We will have applications that we have to test. So we will be testing web applications. Web applications are something that is going to be running in a browser, right? So we'll have applications that we are going to be testing. In order to do that, we have to write some script. So we'll be writing some code. This code that we'll be writing, the code that we'll be writing, or the program that we'll be writing, we will be using Ruby for that as the language, right? As the language, we'll be using Ruby. Unfortunately, Ruby cannot what? Cannot do testing, right? So what is the purpose of Ruby then? Ruby is used for as a language to construct your code so that that code can go and do the automation. But at the same time, I'm saying that Ruby cannot do the automation. So basically what Ruby will do is Ruby works with some software here. that can help in the automation. So what is that software? Ruby can work with something called Watir. Ruby can work with something called Capybara, or Ruby can work with something called Selenium, right? To do what? To do the automated testing. And automated testing is nothing but performing actions on the browser. So there will be a browser. So let's say all this will go to a browser, and in the browser it will select something from the Dropbox, it'll check something, it'll select a radio button, it'll type something, it'll select something, and then it is going to click on a button, submit button. All those actions we are going to do by combining Ruby along with Watir and Capybara and Selenium. Okay, so Watir, basically what it does is it uses Watir is nothing but it's some software, right? It is a package or a group or collection. That means that many classes. So classes are nothing but again code. So Watir is nothing but some software. It is a package or a group or collection of classes, right? And these classes are basically helping us to do the automation testing. So what kind of classes will be there? So there will be classes in the Watir library. In the Watir library, there will be classes. Just to give you an example, there will be a class called browser. So you can be using that browser class, and you will be saying that, okay, I want you to open the browser and go to this website. And then there will be some other classes there called text field. There will be text area. So these kind of classes will be there inside this Watir software. So we have to be using those classes in order to do what? In order to do the automation. So under the hood, what happens is this Watir uses Selenium. You and I, we will have no idea about it, right? Because it is hidden from us. It is hidden from us because it uses inside it other software called WebDriver to perform those actions. So what we have to do in a nutshell right now is so far we have Ruby, right, on our machines. We don't have Watir, we don't have Selenium, we don't have Capybara. And what is Capybara? I'll let you know in a second. It's pretty much similar to Watir, but it has its own driver, a web driver. And so when we deal with Capybara, I'll be talking to you about that in more details. Right now, let's focus on Watir. So right now on my machine, I have Ruby. I have to get Watir, right? Okay. What happens is, since we download Ruby, we have an option of getting all the other softwares without going to the websites, like without going to Google and saying download Watir or download Capybara, download this. I can use something called a gem, right? Something called a gem. What gem is? A gem, understand gem as an utility. It's a package management utility, right? Meaning that it manages the external packages. It manages the Ruby packages as well as the external packages that we need to work with the Ruby. So what do you mean by manages? Meaning that if you have to install WebDriver, you could say, give a command like gem install, let's say Watir, and it will do that. And if you have to install gem install, and if you have to install something like RSpec, you could do that. So you could install, you could uninstall, you could update, you could do all of that using the package management system, using this gem utility. So what we got to do is right now, in order to do automation in its minimum format, I need Ruby, which we already got, and I need this I need Ruby and I need Water. So in order to prepare Water, get Water on my machine, I will go in here and I will say gem install Water. WATIR, and hit enter. And as you can see, it is connecting. It is saying that we are trying to connect, so there is a firewall that is blocking it. So allow access, yeah. So Ruby interpreter, it goes in there and then it downloads all the files that are needed. So as you can see, it is downloading everything that is needed in order to get Water on my machine. Once I get Water on my machine, right, under the hood, under the hood, it will also install so many other things that are needed by Water to do what? To do automation. And one of the things is it needs something called a web driver. So it is installing that as well, right? So all those things, anything that is needed is getting installed right now. As you can see, all is being installed on this machine, right? Okay, so if there was no Water installed on my machine, this is how it looks, and this is what it is going to do. It is going to install all the supporting gems and everything that is needed. It is going to, and at the end it says that, okay, 19 gems installed when I wanted to install that. All right, okay, and I don't know if you can pay attention to it, and one of the gems was Selenium WebDriver. So Selenium WebDriver also got installed in here. So you can, by giving one command, implicitly it also downloads the related gem files. So there is no need for you to explicitly download Selenium WebDriver. Otherwise, you could have done a gem install Selenium WebDriver as well. You could have done that as well, right? So as you can see, I could have done that. But if you see here where my mouse is, it is already installed, Selenium WebDriver. That's why it came back and said that, okay, it's already installed, and it is telling you what version of it has been installed, Selenium 46. So coming back to this picture, in order to do automation, we have to be writing some script. The script or the code will be using Ruby as the programming language. And since Ruby cannot do the web automation, it needs some other gems to do that. And those other software is either I could use Water, I could use Capybara, or I could, basically explicitly use Selenium. This is for the web automation testing. There's also something called Calabash that you could use. Calabash that you could use for mobile testing, right? Now, unfortunately, mobile testing cannot be a part of this course. The only reason for that is there's already so much that needs to be covered in here that mobile testing, we will not have time to do that because I cannot really do justice to mobile testing, because mobile testing itself is like a complete course. As you can see, that itself is like a complete course where we have to learn quite a bit of stuff in there. So I cannot be bringing it into this Ruby Cucumber. So Ruby Cucumber is basically, this is what we'll be doing. Of course, Ruby Cucumber RSpec Water Capybara testing, and we'll be building some frameworks. And right away, you could see, if we have the session tomorrow, you could see that tomorrow itself we will be creating a data-driven framework wherein we will be connecting to Excel, bringing data from Excel, and doing some automation. All that right on day 2 we would be doing. So imagine the amount of stuff that we're going to be covering as a part of this course. So now that we have prepared the environment, let's get started. So the very first thing is, if you have to have a file in other software automation testing tools like Selenium you take or QTP you take, when you write your code, the code will get executed through a tool, right? You, as an example, in Selenium, we will be using a tool called Eclipse to write our scripts, right? Likewise, in QTP, the scripts are written, everything is written in through the tool itself, QTP or a UFT tool. Here, since this is all open source, there is nothing like a particular tool that I could be using in order to do it. So we have a choice now. The choice starts right from basic, which is Notepad. You could type your code in Notepad. Now, who in the world would like to type the code in Notepad? I mean, people, they are not so happy using Notepad because Notepad is like a poor man's tool. So what other tools can we use? So there is something called Notepad++, that gives you it is a little bit rich visually, meaning that it is colorful, unlike Notepad, which is just black and white. And it also, Notepad++ also has IntelliSense, meaning that it'll also try to help you with writing code forward, exposing the properties and methods of the objects and stuff like that. So that's the tool you could be using, Notepad++. Again, that's a free tool. Now, then there are other tools. So the other tools would be, you could use NetBeans, or you could use RubyMine. RubyMine is a license-based tool. So if we have to start off, I can start off with whatchamacall, with Notepad, and then we will use Notepad++. So if I have to write some script, right? So here we are. Let me just close this, and what I'm going to do is I will make a folder here for Ruby, right? So in my C drive, I will do that, and I will create a folder called Ruby training, and in the Ruby training, right, I will go ahead and create a file, right, basic file, so that we can see if our Ruby files are getting executed or not. Okay, there's a question here. Apart from the web application automation, teaching REST services automation. REST services are basically backend, right? Backend testing. So I can show you a REST service being consumed by the web application, and how we could be testing that web service through the browser, through the automation, right? But the backward or the backend testing of the web services are better done through other tools like SOAP UI or UFT and stuff like that. So I will still show you the web service testing through Ruby Cucumber, but through the front end, through the browser, right? So that's what we will be doing. Now, so to execute any Ruby script, we have to write the script using a tool. So as I told you, the choices can be, you could use Notepad as the tool. I could use Notepad, right? And I could use Notepad++. I could use NetBeans, right? I could use RubyMine, right? This is the license-based tool, right? Meaning you have to pay dollars. Now, anybody who offers academic version, they will give it to you for free, right? So otherwise, I think it's like $80 or something, but the academic version is either free or bare minimum, like $10 or something that you have to pay to get the RubyMine license. So you can apply for it. A lot of our students in the past, they got the free copy because you have to write to these guys. So I will cover this RubyMine probably like in the fourth class, right? The third or the fourth class, I'll cover that. So before that, we're going to be starting off here today. I'm going to be showing you how to write scripts in Notepad and Notepad++, and then as we progress, I'll be using the other tools. So our first script would be in Notepad. So what can we write? Well, our script has to be basically has to do Ruby, right? So what we're going to be learning is how to do Ruby. So if I this is my host system, right? This 193 is my host system, and if I go inside here, right, here is sorry, version. This is 2.2 is in my VMware. So you can see both the words, right? So the slightly older and the newest of all. Okay, so if you need to run a script, right, we have to type that code in Notepad. So I'm going to be going to a folder. The folder I've created is Ruby training, and here I will write that code in Notepad. So let me bring up Notepad, and I will type some basic code. So this code has to be in Ruby. All right. Okay. So first thing first. So if I have to type a code, let's say the first would be like I would say puts, right? And this is Ruby Cucumber RSpec Capybara and Watir training, right? Okay. Now, as you can see, puts is a command that is going to spit out whatever we have in here. I mean, so you would say that what kind of a code is that? Oh, this is nothing. There's no code, right? I mean, the code would be if you do things like you come up with variables, right? So like in QTP, you have dim as a way of declaring a variable. Here, we don't do a dim. So you would do something like a definition, right? DEF definition, and then you would have something. So let's say test case name, right? And then you would say test case name equals, right? And you put something in here like login TC, something like that, right? And then puts, and you can say that currently executing test case, right? And that would be test case name. So if you do things like that, so at least there is something. So we are using a variable, you're assigning a value to this variable, and you're using this variable in your script, right? And so that's some file. So I'm going to save that file, save as, and I'm going to go into that Ruby Cucumber, right? Or Ruby training. That's the one that we created right now. Okay, here it is important that you keep an eye here. You can choose all files, and here give the name, whatever name you're giving, right? So let's say this is the first Ruby demo dot rb ruby demo dot rb. So you save it, so that's ruby demo dot rb. So it's an rb file, Ruby file. Now I need to run it, and if I need to run it, I have to go here, right? And where did I save this? I saved it in Ruby training. So I have to go from here to this folder, Ruby training. How do you go? Let's say you could do a cd change directory dot dot. It brings you one level back. Change directory dot dot one level back. So I'm in C drive. I have to go to Ruby training. So you say change directory, and you say Ruby training. So you are in there. Now you have to run this file, Ruby demo. In order to run it, you have to invoke the Ruby software. So the way you invoke the Ruby software is you just say Ruby. So when you say Ruby, the Ruby interpreter, the Ruby engine will sort of like ask you, hey, what do you want me to do? So you are saying that I want you to run this Ruby demo. So you could say Ruby demo. What is the extension of the file? .rb. So you are saying Ruby Take a look at this. So when you do that, whatever is in there, that will go ahead and then that will get executed. So if you see, we have some error there. We have some error on line number 9. If you see line number 9, you have an error, and then currently executing, and then it is saying that there is some error and all that. But it was able to at least find that there is a Ruby file, see what was the code inside it, and then do something about it. So let's say for time being, if I take it out for like 1 second, if I take it out and leave it with just this one and come back in here and run it, and as you can see, whatever we wanted to put, it did put it in there, right? Okay, so that confirms that our this thing is working. What is working? Basically our Ruby engine is working because it is able to put everything in there. Okay, beautiful. Okay, now next thing that we got to do is, who cares about this message? We don't care about the message. We are here to do automation testing, and the automation testing is using Watir. I have to go and I have to execute a test case. So let's come up with a test case, right? And then go about executing it. So let me come up with a test case. I have to go inside now here, and let me come up with a test case. So here is the test case because I want to do some automation testing. So here is the test case. And it doesn't matter what browser we are using. Right now we're going to be using Firefox, and then later on I'll be showing it to you how to test it with IE and how to test it with Google Chrome and stuff like that. Okay, so here is the test case. What I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to do this test case. I'm gonna, for those of you folks who are coming from the Selenium class, you would notice that you know, it's a sort of like a repeat of it, but it's good and bad. Good in the sense that, okay, when you go in the interviews, you could say that you know, I'm well versed in Selenium, I'm well versed in Ruby, because I could test the applications in Ruby, I could test the applications in Selenium, because you know, because you would be doing it in both of them. Bad in the sense that you know, it's not anything new, because you have seen in the Selenium and you're seeing the same thing in here. It's more good than the bad, because you know, that way if I show you like 10 different applications, you might get a little bit bogged down. So here you have something to compare, so it's something good. All right, okay. I have to I have to take a sip of water. Just hold on for a second. I'll be back. Sorry about that. Let's get going. Okay, so let's see. So here, what I want to do is I want to automate, wherein I can do the following. What can I do? I should be able to go in here, and I should be able to enter a phone number, and I should be able to enter a password. And when I click on this, it should be able to log me in. And I can even confirm or assert or have some sort of a checkpoint saying that, yeah, the phone number that I logged in with can be found in the system. All right, so that's basically what I would like to do. Okay, in order to do that, notice that I have to write some code. Now, there are ways of doing it without writing the code, but I'm going to be showing it to you sometime later. Right now, I will show you as how to write the code. So in order to write the code, we have to know a few things in here. What we got to know is if we are going to write the code as simple as type something into this phone number, type something into this phone number, and type something into this password, right? How can I automate that wherein I can say that type something inside this one? So how do I tell it? So that is basically a little bit of a challenge if I don't know some basics. So the basics are whatever elements I am going to interact with on this page. On this page, there are many things. There is this image, there is this image, there is this hyperlink, there is this hyperlink, and if you scroll down, you have there is this text field, there is this text field. So I need to know the way to identify these elements on a page. In order to identify the elements on a page, you have to know a little bit of HTML. Now, you would say that, well, that's asking for too much because HTML is not necessarily a tester's thing. So can you make it a little easier on us so that we don't really have to know HTML? So I would say that it's preferred if you know HTML, but if you don't know HTML, that's fine. That's perfectly all right. Why? Because there are some tools that are available in the industry that will help you identify the elements on the page, right? So those tools depend upon the browser that you are using. So now, in our case, right now, today, the focus is going to be Firefox. So if you don't have Firefox on your machine, you should be downloading Firefox. Go to Google, download Firefox, because that is important, because you must have Firefox. And today's session is focusing on Firefox. And starting from tomorrow, I'm going to be dealing with Google Chrome as well as Internet Explorer and the other browsers. For now, it's the Firefox. So if you have Firefox, it has some add-ons, right? It has some add-ons that can help you do things that we want to do. So what do we want to do right now? We want to identify an element on a page. What do you mean by identification of an element? Meaning, I would like to find out, how can you identify me? You can identify me if you know my name, or if you know my phone number, or if you know my... So these are the ways, these are the attributes of me to identify me. So how do you identify an element on a page? Whatever that element is, whether it's a text box or whether it's a link. So some of the attributes that will help you identify an element would be ID. ID is an attribute. Name is an attribute, right? CSS is an attribute. So these are the attributes. So let's see if I can find out some details about this. So how can I find out the ID of this element? There are some tools for that. So let's go and download those tools. So if I go here and to Google, and if I say download what? Download. There is a tool called Firebug. There's a tool called Firebug. What is Firebug? Firebug, if you see here, Firebug is nothing but it is an add-on that will sit on top of Firefox. So right now I'm using Firefox. Let me see the version of the Firefox. So if you see my version of the Firefox is 38, right? And it already is applying an update for it. So and if I restart it, probably it's going to become 39 or 40. I don't know what, but let's see, 39. So the latest version is 39. So here, if you see, current stable version is 2.0.7. This will work anywhere between 30 and 37. So they don't even have for 39, but I hope that this will work. So I'm gonna download this. So click on that. And what are we doing right now? We are downloading Firebug. So what is Firebug? Firebug is a software that integrates with Firefox. To do what? To put a wealth of tools at your fingertips, right? And what are these tools? These tools are something that will help you identify the elements on the web page. So let us add it to the Firefox. So here I go. I add it, right? And it is downloading, it is adding it. Say that, do you want to install it? Yeah, I would like to install it. And Firebug has been installed successfully. Now you would say that, where is it? I want to see where it is installed. I want to see that. So basically what you do here is you got to make sure that you have here the menus. The menu bar should be checked, right? So the menu bar should be checked. Menu bar should be checked. And you should go under tools. Under tools, if you see this web developer, there is a Firebug. There's a Firebug. See here, that's a Firebug. Okay. In order to identify this element, I have to be on this page and go to tools and go to web developer, Firebug, open Firebug, right? And do what? Bring your mouse next to, this is the bug. Next to the bug, this is something which will help you manage the elements on the page. So inspect the element. So you click on that, and as you can see, there's a blue border around it. So that is telling you where is my focus right now. My focus is supposed to be here on this one. So I should go to that box, inside box, and just click on it. Once you click on it, it will highlight it. And over here, I don't know if you could see it or not, but over here where my mouse is, that tells me that the ID, is whatever it is. Okay, now that we know the ID, I am going to write the code. Okay, to write the code, what do we got to do? We got to be using Notepad. But you have already seen Notepad, right? So let's go and get Notepad++, right, to do that. So I have to download Notepad++. So I'm going to come in here, go to Google, right, and say download Notepad++. This is free tool, Notepad, download Notepad++, right? I'm gonna go to this page, and I will go ahead, and as you can see, the latest version of Notepad++ is 6.8. I can download it. And if you see here, there's an installer. The installer is, it not only downloads, but it helps me to install it as well. So I click on that, and as you can see, this is 5 megabyte, not much, right? So let me just save the file, right? And as you can see, it is getting downloaded, and I will go ahead and I will run it. And once I run it, it's going to ask me some questions. Okay, English, and it says that, okay, I'm going to set up Notepad++ on your machine. That's fine. Go ahead, do that. Agree to the licenses, and it is telling you that it is going to install it in program files x86, and it will create a folder called Notepad++. It's going to install it there. Okay, whatever is default, that's fine, and hit. Now it is telling you that out of all of this, just take this, create a shortcut on desktop. That way it helps us to open it. So that's the one, and I will just go ahead and then install it. Okay, due to the stability issue, D spell check DLL will be moved to the directory disable. So some feature, it's probably some issues are there, so it is going to move that's fine. Now we will run it. So finish will bring it up, and then it is going to run it. So here we are. This is my notepad, right? This is my Notepad++, right? I might have used it in the past, so I will just close everything, right? So close all to the left, right? Everything's closed. Now here, these are some information about it. It says that if you want to do some set up some cloud feature, it can allow. So there's some garbage information. So just close that. Okay, now we are using this to do what? To create a script to do the automation. Okay, so to do the automation, this is what we got to do. If you go back and see, I have to use Ruby and I have to use water, right? Okay, I have already water. Uh, I've already brought water through this gem. I did this and I said gem install water, so it is already there on my machine. So I just need to write the code. Okay, if you recall in my explanation about water, I said water is a software. It's nothing but it's a library or it's a collection, right? Collection means bringing in together all the related classes so that it can offer us the automation. And automation is what we do with the browser. So there will be a class inside water library called a browser, right? So we need to use that class because in object-oriented programming, right? Object-oriented programming, you have to understand there is a hype about object-oriented programming being very difficult. Only developers can understand. Testers, they cannot do object-oriented programming. It is very simple. You always have to relate it to something tangible in your life. As an example, let's say if you are a manager and if you have to delegate some work, right? And if you have 4 people working under you, whatever that is, even arranging a party where you have your 4 kids and you have to delegate some work. So one is taking care of the balloons, the other one is putting some ribbons, the other one is, so you have to delegate these tasks. So you have 4 guys, so you have a collection of your kids, right? So that's your children is your library. So water will have its own classes or its own children, and out of those classes, out of those many classes, we have to use some classes to get the job done. So let me just write some code. So I'm saying water, right? And this is water as a collection or as a library. So putting 2 dots after it says that from this collection of water, from this library of water, I need this object. Which object you want? You want the browser object. Case is important, so please pay attention to the case. So this if I have to comment this in Ruby, the way you comment is putting a pound, right, or hash. So let me explain this in my comment. So what we are doing in the next line is we will be using a browser class from the water library, right? Now here is the story. If you want to give a task to your children, then you have to make children first. It's not the thought that, oh, when I have a child, he will, blow, balloons, or he would, do whatever you want him to do. You have to make a child first, right? You have to have a child. So likewise, in here, we know that humans can have children. We know that water library can have browser, but in this file, you're creating a browser. So the way you create a browser is doing a .new. Whenever you say new, so in other words, where we are right now, we are saying that, hey, uh, from the Water library, I want to create a new browser, right? But there are many types of browsers. Which browser do you want to create? Oh, I want to. So there are many, or at least two types of kids, a boy or a girl. And which one do you want to make, a girl or a boy? So that's what it is. So there are many browsers. Which one do you want? IE or Chrome or Firefox or Opera or Safari or whatever. So here is what it is, right? So from Water, uh, even though there is a browser class, I am creating that new browser class for Firefox. And when this kid is born, I will name this kid Jim. So when this browser is born, I will name this browser, let's say, Firefox browser. So if you see in here, this line, the way you understand this line in object-oriented programming is, you're going to start, there is a left side and then there is a right side. So your understanding should be something like this. From the Water library, there is a class called browser. I want to create a new instance of it, and it is of the type Firefox. And from here onwards, I will refer to this baby as Jim or Firefox browser. And now I will say Jim blow balloons, right? So Firefox browser. Now I will say Firefox browser, Firefox browser. See, IntelliSense. I just type one or two words, it'll give you everything. Firefox browser. Now I will say Firefox browser. Go to where? Oh, what's the name of the website? TrainingRite.net. Right? Go there. So now I have written some code. Let me save this. So file, save as. Where am I saving it? I'm not saving it in Notepad. I am saving in the Ruby. So I would go to Ruby training, right? And here I will call it, this is a test case, right? Test case TC underscore for what? For login, right? And this is the, if I have to be training right login, and I have to give it an extension of .rb. One thing I must never forget is this has to be all files. This has to be all files in the bottom, right? Or if you have Ruby, because in Notepad you don't have it, but here if you have Ruby, you can select Ruby or just say all files, because having an RB will take care of it. So this is the name I have given. So I don't want to type TrainingRite as the whole thing, so I can just do TR. So test case TrainingRite login TC as in test case. Save it. Okay. So what are my steps in here? Now notice the top line is green in color because it's a comment. We will be using a browser class from the Water library, and that's what it is. And then we create, this f of browser is called, we are creating an object from a class, right? So we are creating an object. Which object? ff browser from the which class? From the browser class. So that's what we are doing here. And this line, we are asking the object to go to the application under test. Which object? ff browser object. We are asking the ff browser object to go to the, right? Okay, so far so good. The next steps would be to type the phone number in that box. But let us see even if this one is working. So how can we test if it is working? Okay, if we have a better tool like RubyMine, I would have a play button somewhere here and I could do that. So right now I'm just going to come back in here and say Ruby run it, right? So what's the name of the file? The name of the file is trlogin tc .rb, right? Okay, now what is it supposed to do at this point? If I do that, what is it supposed to do? It is supposed to run and do the following. Do what? It is supposed to open Firefox browser and take you to TrainingRite. Let's see if it does that, right? So hit enter. Now it says uninitialized constant water, right? It says that, oh, I don't even know what this water is, right? Because we don't know what this water is, right? Okay, so sometimes what happens is you have to begin saying require and water web driver. Sometimes you have to initialize that this water is a part of the water web driver. So that's what you have to initialize. So let's see if that will take care of it. And as you can see right now, it should open up the browser and it should take me there. And as you can see, it opened the browser and it took me to trainingrite.net. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now, what's the goal here? The goal here is my test case should be to go and do what? In this box, I have to type some phone number. So how can I type something in this box, right? Oh, this box is inside the browser, correct? This box is basically called a text field, right? So the way I'm going to be writing the code is, it's very intuitive. So you just have to pay attention to each step that we are going to be doing in here. So now I will say ff browser, hey browser, you have something called a text field. You have a text field. Now the browser will think, oh, I can have many text fields, and it's right here. It has this and this. How can you distinguish between this and this? If you want to do something on this text field, you have to say that you have a text field whose ID is this. If you see here the ID is this, whose ID is this, right? So the ID is, if you read it, txt phone lowercase. So the way you're going to be writing the code is ID, right, whose value, so you do this, whose value is going to be txt field. This is how you address. If it is too small, I will bump it up. I think we gotta look for a way to oh, that's the icons. Editing should be there, right? Width, display line number, border width, show vertical, box tree, none, auto completion, miscellaneous. I'm looking for fonts. I don't know. I'll figure it out sometime later, unless you guys know where it is. Try Control plus to make the whole page larger. Control plus. Yeah. No, it won't do it. It won't do it. Anyway, so I'll figure out a way. It might be somewhere here. It's a shame. Enable smooth fonts. If you guys can look into it, you let me know where it is. View menu zoom. No, I don't want to view menu zoom. Okay. Yeah, that seems to have done something here. Control num plus. Yeah, control. Yeah. Anyways, I think this is slightly bigger. We can continue to do that, I guess. Yeah, so it's readable. Readable now. Thank you, Pat. Thank you. Okay, so we are here, and we're gonna be setting some numbers. Dot set what? I'm gonna be setting. Okay, so that is going to take care of that. If I do a Control S, so to save it, and if I go in here and try to run it, it should do one step more than what it had done previously, meaning open the browser, and if whatever I have given the instructions are right, it should enter the thing in it. Okay, so I can already see that there is an error here. So let's see. So it says that the gems, water WebDriver element, assert element found, unable to locate the element using, unable to locate an element using ID txt field, tag name input or tag name, unable to use this, the text field. So what it is saying is, you were trying to do something in here, and I think I'm having a little problem. I'm not able to do it. So I'm going to bring it back here to my parent, and so I cannot copy from here. I cannot. Okay, so it's not allowing me to copy from my. It's not allowing me to copy from my from my VMware to my host. This is basically what I wanted to show you. So I might have to type it again. I just wanted to show you. Require a water WebDriver, and then browser equals water browser dot new colon Firefox and ff browser dot go to and ff browser dot text field. um, okay. On my C drive, this is my parent system now. There's a Ruby training, right? And I will name this file as the same, which is tr login tc.rb, right? And here I'm gonna call it that. Okay, now here if I come to my main system, this is tr login tc, so this is where I am in my main system. So I could do a cd change directory to c, and this is Ruby training. So I'm there, and now I would say Ruby tr login tc.rb. Now let's see. It has to open the Firefox browser. Excuse me. Right? It has to open the Firefox browser, and let's see what kind of an error it gives us. Or will it do what we ask it to do? Okay, so here's the deal. Notice it does it here. It enters it here. And notice it doesn't do it here, right? Because it same code, it gives you an error. So that tells us as we move ahead, the versions does matter. The versions does matter. So your script will break depending on the versions, right? So the demonstration that I want to give you is you would come back and you say, hey, it's not working on my machine. So because it's the same thing, this is my machine, it's working on my machine here, and this, let's say, is your machine and it's not working on your machine. So don't just tell me that it's not working on your machine. You have to come back and you have to say that on my machine I have this Ruby version, right? I have 2.2.2, and on 2.2.2 it is not working, and it is saying that, if you read here, it says that unable to locate element using what? ID text field, right? So we have to fix it. We have to fix it, and we have to say that, okay, it is not doing it right now. Right here, I am telling you my problem here is, what did I do here? If you were paying attention, you would notice that, oh, I put text field there. Should I put text field there? I should be putting what? I should be putting, if you go back and look into here, I should be putting txt phone, not text field. So if you come back in here and if you see here txt phone, so that should typically go ahead and then do it. So now sometimes what happens is, sometimes what happens is the things that we put in here, right, it will not work based on what? It will not work based on your version 2. So I'll give you an example of that. There I made a text field. That was stupid of me to put text field, but let's say if you have something like that. If I go in here, and if you see here, this is a text field, this is a text field, this is a text field, so is this, right? So in the past, with the old versions, you can get away using this as the text field. But in the newer version, this should be used as the text area. This should be used as the text area, because in HTML, a multi-line box is not referred to as the text field, but it is referred to as the text area. So a little bit knowledge of HTML would also help, but you also have to keep an eye on your versions also, right? In this case, that is not necessarily the case. Okay, so we did that. Now, can one of you, right, help me understand how or what should be my code to put password in here? So can you please tell me what should be my code to put password in there? So you can type in the chat box and I will take it and I'll put it in there. So I will do as much as I can, right? Dot text field. Now, what do you think I should be doing? Yeah. Okay, so you are saying that take your mouse, go here, right? Click on it and click on it and go click on that and look for IDEs txt password, right? So I'm going to come in here, IDEs txt password, and here I'm going to set my password is password. Okay, you can see it right now, right? That's fine, you could see it, but okay, so I'm gonna save it, come back in here and do that, right? Ruby login tc, run that, and browser should open, take me to the username, take me to the password, and the next one would be interesting because I have to do what? It did type my password. You can't see it because it's the password box, but it typed my password. Next thing that I want to do is I want to click on this. If you see here, I want to click on this submit button. So to click on the submit button, I have to tell what? Firefox browser dot, and what is that? It's a button. It's a button. Now, so that should give you a hint that Firefox, text fields, buttons, these are all coming from this Watir library, right? So you have to know the classes inside that library. I'll share some documentation with you. So now when it is a button, if you go back into the here, and when you click on this button, on this button, if you see, there is an ID called btn button, right? Now, I can use this ID btn button, but I also want to show you that sometimes you could also use some other attributes like this. See here, value equals submit. You could use that as well. So it's your choice what you want to do. So in this case, I want to use value equals submit. So let me come back here, and here I would say that this time I want to use an attribute called value, and that has submit in it, right? And so this on this, I'm not setting anything on this one. What am I doing on this one? Yeah, you got it right. I'm clicking on it, right? Okay, so what I want to do here is as things are happening, I want to write some notes. I want to see puts, meaning that browser Firefox browser opened and navigated to www.trainingrite.net, right? Okay, so that is one thing, right? Because it did happen. The next thing is puts, right, entered 732.998.6650 in the phone text box. Okay. Okay, then here puts entered password in the password text box. Okay, good. Puts clicked on the submit button, right? Okay, so now I know if I go in here and watch what happens here, right, in this window, even if we don't look at the browser, right, if you get the puts there, right, if I'm just looking into that, right, it should tell you what is happening. See that? Okay, so here it should tell you that Firefox browser opened and navigated to TrainingRite, entered 732 in the phone text box, entered password in the password text box. Now we have an issue with locating. So it says invalid attribute value. Invalid attribute value because it was not able to check the value. So it was not able to do this, not able to check the value. So as you can see, my typos, right? So too many equals. So thank you for paying attention. So I had too many equals there, right? So if I run it one more time, now even though you don't pay too much attention to the browser, just looking at this should give us an idea of what is happening in the browser. There it is. So there it is. So it clicked on the submit button. It clicked on the submit button. So now we have to check for when we clicked on the submit button, do we see this? Do we see this text somewhere on the page? So that is the assertion. So how can we do the assertion? There are a couple of ways of doing the assertion. You could do the assertion based on using other framework like RSpec, or we could still be doing it with whatchamacall the Watir. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it in a slightly crazy way. We have a situation of pass and fail, right? So let's say if I do this, if I put a different number, it will not be there. So I want to check if it is there or not there. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go with if. If what? If browser, or which browser? FF browser. If FF browser dot text dot include, right? If the text on the browser includes what? If it includes just this number 732.998, if it includes that, if it is there, let's say, then I want to say puts, right, test passed, right, else, right, what do you want to do else? So we are looking into some if statements. Else puts login fail, test fail, right, end. Indent a little bit. Excuse me. Okay, So logged in successfully, test pass or test fail. Okay, so I will run this one more time and we will check what will happen right now. So okay, so it says that Firefox browser opened and navigated to TrainingRite. It entered 732 in the phone text box, entered password in the password text box, clicked on the submit button, logged in successfully, test pass, right? Okay, I will make some minor modification to it. So I'll make it 7755 and we are looking for 7755 on the page now, right? Okay, save it. 7755, I know that I don't have 7755 as the login in my system. I don't have that, right? So let's see what happens right now. Same file with a different set of data. Let's see what happens. Okay, so as you can see right away, we said logged in fail, test fail. So how does it know that it failed? Well, because we are looking for whatever number we are looking. When we log in, we should be able to see that number. And we are not able to see that number only because, where is that? Only because it's not there in the system. All right. Okay. So now the big question that comes up here is, now that we have some idea, because I have started using few things in here, I have shown you the script, I've shown you as how to prepare the environment, I've shown you the Firebug. The next thing that we got to be doing here is start to build the framework. And the way we're going to be building the framework is we'll be logging these details, right? And we'll be taking some screenshots. We'll be logging these details into the log files. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be driving the data by not hard coding the data as what we have done in here, but we will be taking the data coming from Excel sheet and from a database, right? So in tomorrow's class, what I will be doing is I'll be taking the script and I will be trying to enhance the script. How are we going to enhance the script? This is what we're going to be doing tomorrow. In tomorrow's class, I will be basically using some variables, right? And I will be basically be showing you as how to run it in different sets of browsers. Today we worked on just the Firefox, so tomorrow we'll be using Internet Explorer and we'll be using Chrome. So I will show you how to use browsers. I will be showing you as how to use different sets of data by putting the data into an Excel sheet and bringing the data from an Excel sheet and running for multiple tests. Okay, here is the assignment that I want to give you. The assignment is, I want you not to use this. I don't want you to use this. What you should be doing, assignment is a two-step assignment. One is you will be going and you will be doing this. You will, first of all, you will create a test case wherein you will be going here, right? This is going to be your browser. Go to here and enter something here, your name, or you don't have to enter your exact details, but you just make up something. And then this is one test case. So that this is going to be a new member login. And then you should also be doing this one. So in both the cases, I want you to tell me if the test case pass or a test case fail. So this is some hint that I'm giving you. So you have to, based on this, you have to check if the test case pass or fail. And you can pretty much do the same for both of them. You can do for the new members, and you can do it for the login. And now I'm going to take some questions if you have any, right? Now I've not decided whether I will do tomorrow's class or not. Hopefully I will do it um, rather than not doing it. So I will keep you guys posted. And for those of you folks who have not registered, you still have an option of like going and registering it from TrainingRite.com. So you can go and you can buy this training, and we will be sending you a link only if you confirm with us that you have purchased it and you want to come for the training tomorrow. So that way we can send you the link. All of you who have even registered, paid and registered, I want you to send email to us at trainingrite@gmail.com, trainingrite@gmail.com, and just say that I am a registered student and I want to attend the future classes, and then we will send you the invite to come to tomorrow's class. All right. Okay. Now I'll take a Q&A. We'll have a Q&A session. So any questions you have, you can either talk to me or type it in the chat, and I will answer your questions. Okay. So I'm going to wait for a while till you type it. If you don't have any questions, then we are pretty much calling it a day right now. And invites to only those people who are going to respond to us and say that you are a registered student and you want to continue with this session starting from tomorrow, and then we will be sending you the link to come to the class. All right. Okay, if it is going to bother you folks to go any later than this, what time is it in UK right now? You are 5 hours ahead of us. So if it is 4 o'clock here, that means that it's probably like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. 9 p.m. Yeah. So rather than ending at 9 p.m., you would end at 10 p.m. Even if we will not be going any later than 10 p.m. in your case. So in UK, you will end at 10 p.m. So even if I change the time, I will change it only by 1 hour, not anything more than that. All right. So so rather than ending at 9, you're going to be ending at 10. Okay, is this course covering JSON REST API automation? This course will cover the front end of that. It will cover the front end, not the back end of that. For the back end, you have to take either SOAP UI or you have to take UFT, QTP UFT training for the back end of it. For the front end, we will cover that, meaning that I will show you that behind the scenes, a JSON REST API will be used behind the scenes, but we are not actually testing the web service. We are testing the GUI portion of it through the front end. That's what we'll be doing. For the back end, you have to go and you have to test using SOAP UI and UFT. All right. Okie dokie. If you don't have any other questions, let's call it a day. And I will send you the link to only those folks who will send us an email saying that you are a registered student and then you have paid your dues and you need to attend this session right now. Okay. All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.